Good evening, this is Mark Etchels and this is my presentation for CIST 2413, Virtualization and Hyper V. In this presentation I'll be discussing virtualization in its various forms and how it can be utilized using Windows Server 2008. In essence, virtualization is all about dividing a single physical resource into multiple logical resources. The resource in question can be hardware, software, or applications, memory, storage devices, or even a network. This is accomplished by using a hypervisor, a layer of software between the hardware and operating system that allows for the virtualization of these resources. Microsoft's hypervisor is Hyper V and is available as a role on Windows Server 2008. Now let's look at some of the specifics of the different types of virtualization. Hardware virtualization involves creating one or more virtual machines on a single physical host. This offers many benefits and tools which allow the administrator to, among other things, run multiple operating systems on a single host, evaluate upgrades and new software in an isolated environment, consolidate multiple servers onto a single physical host, transfer a virtual machine from one physical host to another. Virtual machines can be configured and managed through the Hyper-V Manager, which is accessed through administrative tools. In application virtualization, applications are stored on a server and accessed by users, usually via the Start button, as needed. This offers two big advantages. First, obviously, it greatly reduces storage requirements, but also when an application is accessed by a user, it's brought up and run in a sandbox, that is, isolated from the operating system. This means that legacy software can be run without the inconvenience of having to move back and forth between operating systems. On Windows Server 2008, application virtualization can be configured and utilized using the Remote App feature of the Terminal Services role. In memory virtualization, collective memory is pooled and utilized by each virtual machine as needed and only drawn from when necessary. Thus, memory resources are less likely to go underutilized. Hyper-V's dynamic memory feature automatically adjusts the amount of memory available to a virtual machine based on a combination of changes in demand and settings established by the administrator in advance. Storage virtualization involves pooling storage space from multiple devices into what appears to the user to be a single storage location. The server sees the virtual layer as a single storage device, and the various storage devices see the virtual layer as the only server. One example of virtual storage that's becoming increasingly popular is cloud storage, which is essentially virtual storage pools hosted by third-party vendors. Using the Hyper-V pass-through feature, each individual machine will have at least one virtual hard drive independent of the host file system. Network virtualization is combining the available resources in a network by splitting up the available bandwidth into channels, each of which is independent from the others. There are two types of network virtualization. Para-virtualization uses software to create a separate routing table for each configured virtual network. This is what happens when you configure a VLAN. True virtualization occurs when a hypervisor creates separate instances of the operating system and superimposes them on a single physical network. An example of this would be Cisco's virtual contexts. In a Windows Server 2008 environment, both internal and external virtual networks can be configured through the Hyper-V Virtual Network Manager. In summary, virtualization is the process of dividing a single physical resource into multiple logical resources using a hypervisor. The resources which can be virtualized include hardware, applications, memory, storage, or a network. The hypervisor we work with in a Windows Server 2008 environment is Hyper-V, which can be managed through the Hyper-V Manager found on Administrative Tools. Virtualization is becoming increasingly popular in the corporate world because it saves money by consolidating resources, allows users to continue to utilize legacy software even after upgrades, gets more efficient use out of existing resources, and, in the case of virtual storage, allows you to subcontract out data storage altogether so that you only pay for what you need when you need it.